Welcome to Tabletop Gaming Guild. Tabletop Gaming Guild is all about the experience and memories that playing tabletop games with friends and families can create. And today we're talking about Welcome to, a game designed by Ben Stratton and published by Deepwater Games and Distribution. Welcome to is a flip and write where you are going to be building a suburb, and whoever has the best suburb in the end wins. Welcome to has two game modes. There's a simultaneous play and a turn-based play. We'll talk about the simultaneous play first. In the simultaneous play, you will reveal three numbers and pair them with three abilities. Everybody will simultaneously choose one of the numbers and the ability paired with it. So if they choose a 9, you have to take parks. And everybody could choose different numbers or the same numbers, it doesn't matter. We'll talk about the abilities and how they work later, but first let's talk about writing the numbers. When you choose a number, you would write it on one of your three suburbs, anywhere within that suburb you want. However, within the suburb, those numbers have to be sequential. So you can never have 9 then 8. The trick here, though, is there are only 14 numbers, and the suburbs have a length of 10, 11, 12, and you can never repeat numbers, so that means you have to be very careful where you place the numbers, leading to a situation where you cannot possibly complete the suburb without using special abilities. Let's get to this bottom half where all the scoring comes in. The first section is the bonuses for the goals in the game. So there's going to be 3 goals, and you're going to get points for completing the goals. The first person to complete a goal will get the higher point and flip it over, so everybody knows that only the lower points are available. And generally these goals are things like you need to have a subdivision, which I'll get into how those are created, of a certain size or certain sizes, or having completed a certain suburb. The next section is points for parks. You get points for each suburb based on how many of these park sections you filled in. So if you haven't filled any in that suburb, it's 0 points. If you filled in the first one, you get 2, and so forth. And you fill those in by taking the ability that shows the park on it. You then have pools. If you take the pool abilities, that means that number attached to it has to be written in one of those locations on the board that show a pool on it. And each time you do that, you mark off one of these spaces in the pool chart, giving you the next higher point score. There's also construction to alter the number you chose by up to 2 digits. So you can add or subtract, making this 10, anywhere from an 8 to 12 before you write it. And each time you do that, you march one of these off, and whoever used the most of those gets a certain number of points, second most gets a certain number of points, and so forth. Before I can explain this one, I need to explain subdivisions, which occurs when you take a fence. When you take a fence, you can now draw a line across any one of these dotted lines, and that subdivides your suburb. If you have all the numbers filled in on one side of that fence, you have completed a subdivision of said size. And then at the end of the game, each subdivision is going to be worth a certain number of points based on the size of the subdivision and how many of the related boxes you've crossed off by taking the ability. So if I take this, I could choose one size to cross off a number, and that subdivision size is worth the next higher number. The next batch of abilities are all negative point scoring abilities. The first one being BIS, that allows you to duplicate a number within a suburb. If I take this 8 with a BIS, I can write the 8 and then take any number on any subdivision and duplicate that number in the adjacent spot. However, duplicate numbers can never be split by a fence, so you have to be careful where you place those. The next two are emergency abilities that you can take at any time in addition to your normal turn. First one is roundabouts. Before or after you take your turn, you can add a roundabout to a subdivision. This roundabout allows you to restart the numbering. So if I had a 1 through 4 and I needed to write another 1 in that subdivision, I could place that roundabout. That means I could just restart that numbering from 1 again. The last one is one that you're forced to take if there's no actions you can or want to take within the selection. You would simply cross off one of these and end your turn. There are several ways that can trigger the game to end. One is if somebody has completed all 3 goals for the game. It can also end if somebody has taken 3 of these I cannot take a turn abilities. And the third way is if somebody has completed all 3 subdivisions. And that's the basics of Welcome To. Now, I mentioned there's a second mode of play, which is the turn-based. Played almost the same way, except for how you choose your set of numbering. In the simultaneous play, you're going to be given 3 cards. You will choose the number from one card, the ability from a second card, and the third card you will pass to the left for the next player to have in their selection for the next round. And then you would draw 2 more cards. That's all the basics for Welcome To. It's a pretty straightforward, simple, fast game. It is a lot of fun. It's a good game to introduce to light gamers or new gamers, or even for family play. It's one that you can play back to back. It goes super quick. It's a lot of fun. I am always a little bit cautious about this style of game, as these are the games that you could play so much that you just get sick of them. So I love this, but this is one that, because it's so fast, I just want to make sure I'm not overplaying it. That said, overplaying could mean playing more than like 10, 20 times in a row, or playing over 100 times within a year. So that is a lot of gameplay you can get out of this. Overall, I'd say this is definitely a game that's worth picking up and trying out. There's a number of different versions of this game that play pretty similarly. It's just mainly a matter of what theme you prefer. Again, it's a great game. You should try it out, and I hope you enjoyed this review and it gives you a better idea of what to expect with Welcome To. Thank you again for watching. Please join us again on YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, and other social medias. And please don't forget to like and subscribe.